with regards to their Rwanda plans, people coming in on the boats. So it feels like, in a way, to divert the attention slightly, they've made changes to the legal routes for people to come in and make it extremely hard for them to do so. And like you said, with the family visas, so if you want to come in as a spouse, then the financial requirement that you need to meet to actually come in from the 11th of April is actually going to go up to 29,000.
See, at one stage they were saying 38, weren't they?
Well, they've not completely got rid of that yet. So
Oh, yes.
by early 25, they will have put in for 38,700. That's what it's due to go up to. They had to have an interim of 29, I think, because there was a lot of uproar of how you can virtually double the amount of money that's needed to show the financial requirement. Bearing in mind that a large percentage of settled and British people here in the UK don't earn £38,700, yet are able to look after their families without any recourse to public funds. And the 18,600 requirement that's there, that again doesn't allow, if you come in and you've come in on that basis, doesn't allow you access to any benefits. So
No, it doesn't allow you access, but I could see. I know a lot of listeners may not agree with me here, but I could see why an increase was coming. Increase, I wouldn't say necessary, but look, on a basic minimum wage, if someone is working 37 and a half hours, their income is above 20,000, right? So, on that, if you do your calculations based on that, I assumed they would probably be increasing it about to 20, 21,000, something like that, not 29. But obviously, in previous years, many moons ago, it was in line with the benefit rates, wasn't it?
it used to be, yes, for adequate maintenance and accommodation.
Yeah, exactly. So that was much lower. But the argument is, are benefit rates high enough to support people nowadays?
Clearly not, because the government don't believe
they are, but they're still giving them. Yeah, that's another
a bit of a balance there.
Yeah,
but like you said, yes, possibly it needed to increase, but it needed to increase by a much smaller
to
amount,
the basic
to
minimum
the
wage.
basic minimum wage. Then it's acceptable. Even, I think, and I probably shouldn't be discussing this, but they don't look at everything properly and logically as you and I probably would, because even when they're doing the calculations, for example, you have to earn more if you've got a child or more than one child. Yet if those children are British citizens, then they don't take them into account. Yet you've still got to feed them, clothe them,
absolutely,
do everything else.
Yeah. It doesn't make sense, does it?
It doesn't make sense, a lot of the things that they do. So it's not, they don't do any of this logically. I think it's usually a reaction to criticism that they've received for some other part of immigration issues. And then they bring out big changes, big headlines, and it takes the attention away from what's happening in other areas.
Yeah, maybe so. A, taking attention away. B, also people that I think, I don't know whether I should on radio be talking about this, but at the moment, with whatever's going on, Islamophobia is on the rise, and I think that the government have a hand in this as well, in my opinion. Me previously being a conservative voter myself, I maybe not the right person to be saying this, but yeah, I do think a lot of scaremongering there, and maybe that is in order to get the old vote from the people who are anti-immigration, who are anti. Well, they want a English-only country, so they're trying to get them back on board. Voters that they had lost to, what was the other party that came about with Farage? What was it?
UKIP.
UKIP, yeah. So that UKIP vote, that was on the basis of immigration, wasn't it? UKIP was main policy was immigration. So these guys are probably trying to win that vote back by saying, "Oh, look, we're the curtailing immigration party." But anyhow, Where,
From my side of things, I'm not on either
yeah,
side politically. So I'm saying I think whichever party is in is going to try and deflect attention from things that are giving them criticism
absolutely.
and bring in other areas where they're going to be praised. So
Yeah.
I think that's what happens with any political party. But even you're saying that there's a lot of Islamophobia. Equally, I've read an article today that the situation with care workers and that is a lot of abuse from, and in particular you mentioned India, for example, and that's a leading broadsheet in the UK. So I think they're targeting a lot of different countries, whereas we know that care workers come in not just from the South Asian countries, but they come in from all over Africa and everywhere else as well. So I think it's dependent on what the readers or the viewers want to hear is what they actually put out there. But I think there is going to be a heavy burden on families now with regards to this increase, which is 29,000, which will
Yeah.
come in on April the 11th. Just to clarify, if you're already on a 5-year route visa on a spouse route here, then it won't apply to you. The 18,600 will still apply for your next extension. So you don't need to worry if you're
Yeah,
already in
that
the
that has
country.
been a question that has been asked of me by many people actually. I've had phone calls from people saying, "Oh, I applied for I came over, or my spouse came over under the 18,600. When our renewal, when we have our renewal, are we have we then got to satisfy, because it's after April? Have we then got to satisfy 29,000?" Um, so yeah, that's worth definitely something that our listeners and viewers would be interested in, and maybe happy that at least that element is still remaining at the 18,600, and any dependents it'll be the same.
Yes, and I think that's again come around because of the criticism that they faced of increasing it to the 38,700 initially. So there's been a lot of campaigning and things going on that it would be highly unfair when they haven't given the opportunity to the people who are already on a visa route. So it shouldn't apply to them. So
Okay.
at least that's there for them. And one good thing the government have done also is it doesn't come in until the 11th of April. So that gives those who are self-employed the opportunity to get their tax returns in if they need to on the 6th of April and still be able to apply before the 11th of April and get their applications in. So if anybody is in a position where they are self-employed, get onto your accountant now, get as much of your documents to them as you can now so that you're in a position to get your online application submitted by the 11th.
That's a question, Sejal. Do you know your you've got 100% pass rate for your visa applications, yeah?
Pretty much, yes.
Well, it's not pretty much. It is. And I don't know the last one that got refused. So, would you put your neck out?
For
You know where I'm going. Going there.
I'm going to wait for you to say it.
You know, like there used to be no win, no fee, right? You know, there used to be this on a whim here.
I don't.
There
I
used to
don't think it's ever been that on immigration. To
no,
be
no. I'm
honest.
saying there used to be no win, no fee on personal injury
Yes.
matters, right?
Yes.
So, I don't think there's any lawyer, solicitor or lawyer who says no win, no fee. Oh, no win and your money back on spouse visas.
I don't think we would just on the basis
I would, because I
you.
know I'm good.
I'm that's the thing. I'm not saying I'm not good. I know I'm good.
Yeah.
However, I also
But you
know
know that how
that the
rubbish.
Home Office
Yeah.
makes several mistakes. For example, I had an application once where we submitted all the documents and they refused it on the basis that the TB certificates weren't there. The TB certificates were then submitted with an appeal
Yeah.
and it won, and the dates on the TB certificates were correct. It had been uploaded onto their system, but the Home Office had missed it.
That has happened. I've had some time ago now, but I've had one where they'd refused an application. This is when we were based in Almrock.
Okay.
So they refused an application saying that your salary from, I think it was Tesco or something like that, does not meet such and such. And I looked at the refusal and I thought, I'm sure my client didn't work in Tesco. Checked and she didn't work in Tesco. She worked somewhere else. So they'd mixed the slips up.
There we go.
Yeah. So
So it's not about how good we are, it's about
how
how competent the Home
competent
Office is.
the caseworkers in the Home Office are. Yeah, that's true.
And then I think and
Oh,
the
so
other
just one second. We've got a call. One second. Hello.
Assalamu alaikum, Ajaz.
Hello.
Hello, assalamu alaikum. Hello.
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 Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay. Assalamu alaikum, Ajaz. It's
Wa alaikum
Zaid here. How
salam.
you doing?
Yeah,
How you
alhamdulillah, all
doing?
good. How are you?
Yeah, not bad at all. Ramadan Mubarak.
Ramadan Mubarak to you too. I hope you're having a. I think you started fasting today, didn't you?
Yeah. Unfortunately, we can never get it right, can we? Globally, there's always going to be somebody. But I haven't rang you because of that. I rang you because I need to ask you an immigration question. So I don't want to sidetrack.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. Ask away then.
Uh, what's happening is currently we have youngsters. I'm a dad. I've got two boys
Yeah,
and a
yeah,
girl.
yeah. I know your
My
sons.
yeah, and we have young people, men and women. They get married from Pakistan or abroad. I'm just being generalizing there because I'm Pakistani. But what are the challenges and what are the challenges and what kind of solutions do you have to support us? Obviously you're dealing with immigration, but what are the challenges? How can you
I
support us?
don't have a marriage agency, mate.
You know what I'm trying to say?
No. So the challenge we were just discussing this actually. I don't know when, how long ago you actually tuned in, but I've got Sejal here as well, and we were discussing that on spouse business how hard it's becoming, and
Yeah,
the fact that they've increased the fees
they
to,
have.
bear with me a second, to 29,000. So I was just checking
not the
whether.
fees, the financial requirement.
Yeah,
The
sorry, the
financial
financial requirement.
requirement.
Yeah, the financial requirement to 29,000 from 18,600, which is not feasible for anyone and everyone. But yes, some people won't have an issue, but obviously there's a lot who are even struggling with the 18,600. Um, so
Absolutely.
that's going to stop people from marrying abroad, maybe delay people's plans, uh, and that's.
I think potentially it's going to be more of a delay than
Yeah.
actually stop people.
Well, yeah, because
But
people will have to find second jobs.
either second jobs, they can get. I think one of the good things about all the South Asian countries is that parents and things are willing to help. So one of the options that you can have to meet the financial requirements is the savings route. So if family are able to help you by gifting you a substantial amount of money,
Yes.
then and you hold that for 6 months, then that can be used towards the financial requirement for however much you're actually missing.
Is the other question I had for you, Sejal? Maybe I'm going to put you on the spot again.
I think he's getting me back for being late.
So, with under the previous rules, this is a genuine question from me because I've not looked into it. Right, under the previous rules, we could, if there was an elderly person in the family who needed care, and this person who's going over to get married was their primary carer, then they would be assessed under the rules similar to those of the
Adequate maintenance.
maintenance. Yes.
Okay, so if they're receiving
Is
a
that
carer's allowance,
yes?
then they would be looked at under
So is that
adequate
still
maintenance.
applicable?
That's still applicable
Okay.
because those rules don't change. It's just the financial requirement for those that have to meet that particular financial requirement if you're not in receipt of a certain number of benefits.
That's actually. I think Zaid, are you there still?
I'm still listening. Yeah, I'm still listening. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's one avenue which hasn't changed, which maybe to some families it may be a blessing.
So yeah, if you're, for example, if the person's in the sponsor here in the UK is in receipt of carers allowance, is in receipt
Yeah.
of PIP, and various other benefits as well. If you go onto the immigration rules, you'd be able to see. Then
Yeah.
it is possible that they would only have to meet the adequate maintenance requirement, which is a calculation that would be done on what the income support levels they would be entitled to as a couple, or if there's a child involved, a child, and then taking away your income for, sorry, the outgoings of your home, so any rent or mortgage that you pay, and the council tax bills, and that's how
So
you come to the figure of what you'd need to be earning at that point. So that's an
so
option available to somebody who's on those sorts of benefits.
so there is some flexibility there.
There's flexibility up to an extent, but obviously you'd need to be in receipt of those benefits for you to be able to access that element of the rules. But otherwise,
Yeah.
I think
You
your
say
son.
flexibility. You're, you can't then, start praying. No, it's Ramadan. Your prayers get answered. You can't start praying for people to get disability living allowance, so that they could get in. so, so
So you, no, I mean the thing is currently at the moment we've got an aging population,
yes.
right? Especially in the families.
Hmm.
And if you look at it nowadays, I mean, my father, God bless him, passed away. But before he passed away, for about 10, 15 years, he had carers. Majority of the carers were, uh, were his children,
Uh huh.
right? Yeah, and it's still happening now. There's families there who are in a situation, as what you say said, that they've got, these people have got grandparents, and they if they don't get anything, they don't get a job for £29,000, right? They're not going to be able to bring their spouse over until they fulfill that criteria. But then if they've got grandparents at home or somebody that needs caring, they can actually become the main carer and bring them over via that route, couldn't they?
That is a possibility, but you also have to remember what the requirements as a carer would be, what you're allowed to earn if you are the full time carer. So
Yeah.
it might not necessarily, if they're only getting the carer's allowance and they're not working as well, that's,
Okay.
there needs to be calculations done in terms of what would be required.
Yeah, so even previously, with the carers allowance, I don't know whether you're aware of this, but the just relying on carers allowance was not enough. There was still a gap
Okay.
Yeah.
between what the minimum was, minimum threshold for. Again, it has to match that
It's
of
the
the,
current income support level.
yeah, current income support level. So there's still a difference between the current income support level and carers allowance, right?
Because you have to also look, when they're doing the calculation, when they look at the income support level, they will look at the income
Right.
support level
Can
for
you
a couple.
can I put you on hold because we're in interval at the moment, so we'll come back after.
No,
Uh,
no, that's okay. Listen, thanks for your help.
no
Thanks for
worries.
your help. Thank you very much, both of you, and God bless. Take
You're
care.
most
Bye.
welcome.
So I don't know whether I'm live on there now, but there's another one I want to talk to you about actually.
Okay, that's fine. Can you keep it on just you? I'm happy not to be on camera. Oh, well, what it is, it's the full studio one. It's right, because this one's not working at the moment. It was working yesterday when you were here. It really suits me not to be on camera. He loves the camera. Yeah. You can have it on him. All right, okay. So I'm just going to stand out of the way of the camera. So, you know when you finish, put your paper down.
Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to the Legal Clinic with Ajaz Ali, and my special guest here today is Sejal Karavadra. You're listening to Ramadan Radio Wolverhampton on, what are we on? We're on the radio at 87.8 FM. We're also live on Facebook and live on YouTube. And I've been told we're also on Alexa. So, we're getting famous. Ramadan Radio is going places. Right. If anyone has any questions, we're discussing immigration law today. We won't be able to cover everything because not enough time. There's so many changes recently that have taken effect or are yet to take effect. If anyone has any questions, please give us a call in the studio. I got people calling me on my mobile. No, please call us in the studio on 01902 972 150, or you can WhatsApp us and WhatsApp text message us on 07440 420 432, and we'll see if we can address your issues. If you have any issues that you want to want a little guidance on, which isn't immigration related, you can send them through as well, and if I can help, I will try and help. If I cannot fit it in today, I'll try and fit it into one of the remaining 3/4 shows that I have this Ramadan. Right, Sejal, we were talking about spouse visas.
Yes.
I think we've covered it in depth. We've mentioned about even down to if someone is in receipt of disability living allowance or
There's carers
carers
allowance, and
allowance.
there's 4 or 5 other benefits
Yes.
that are in the list as well. That's you can find that within Appendix FM.
Yeah.
So one more thing I do want to add. I know we've covered a lot of things, but one of
Yes.
the other changes that came into place in February
Mm-hmm.
was, and it doesn't just apply to spouse visas, but to all visas where you're coming in for more than 6 months,
Sure.
and if you're got leave to remain here, is the immigration health surcharge.
Yes, I was going to speak about that. So when I'm after moving on from what we have discussed, I was going on to fees. Now, fees have gone up generally anyhow.
Absolutely.
So on a spouse visa, what is the fee now roughly?
It's roughly about £1,800.
It used
for
to be
the actual-
1,200.
Used to be 15, 16.
Yeah.
I don't say a set amount ever to my clients purely because, and I've never understood
It varies,
why.
doesn't it?
It varies because of the exchange rate.
Yes.
It's never in pounds
Because
sterling.
it's done in it's actually
It's-
calculated in rupees if you're in Pakistan and India, I suppose.
Yeah.
And Dhaka if you're in Dhaka.
But you'd be amazed, even if it isn't done in the country's own currency, it's done in dollars and not pounds, which I don't understand. So it depends on what the exchange rate is on that particular day. And it also will depend, because it's a foreign currency charge, on the bank rates that your bank will charge for making that transaction as well. But you're roughly looking at about £1,800 for the application fee. Now, the immigration health surcharge per year, which was £624, has gone up to £1,035. So it's nearly doubled, which is of great concern because just your immigration health surcharge is over £3,000 when you're putting in a spouse application, for example, from abroad, and it only goes down to 2,500 and something when you're doing an extension application. So it's been a major increase,
That
which
is-
is really
so-
affecting people.
Well, it would be. So I suppose they've increased the requirements to 29,000 because they know you'll need this extra to cover their surcharges.
Absolutely, absolutely. I
So
think.
it's not because that's what the requirement is
To
It's-
live.
to live. It's because that's what the requirement is to satisfy their fees.
And it's bad enough if you're just bringing a spouse over, but if you've got a spouse and children as well,
Yeah.
then it's a ridiculous amount of money that has to be available. And when you're putting in an application like a spouse, even applying for fee exemptions and things isn't really a good idea, because then you're saying that you can't meet the financial requirements in a roundabout way. So I think people are really going to be struggling in terms of putting these applications in. And I think that's where, within our cultures where the family do aid, that's where that's going to come in. So as the last caller said, what solutions are there? I think a lot of it's going to be help from family, parents, aunts, uncles. That's where the help's going to come in from. If it's not in the case of providing them with the savings that they need by gifting them money, then it's going to be in terms of helping pay these extra fees that have to be paid to the Home Office for the application even to be accepted. Because I sometimes get asked, can't we put the application in and then we'll put the money in afterwards? But they don't accept an online application before the fees are. It's only submitted once the fees are paid. So,
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's another burden that's come on people just 1 month before. So there's a lot of changes which are quite harsh to the people that are applying. The only one good news where family visas are concerned is that they have done a change to unmarried partners.
Oh,
So before, it was within the rules that you had to have been living together for at least 2 years.
2 years, yes.
To satisfy.
Yes.
It no longer says that. It still says that your relationship needs to be akin to a
subsisting.
marriage.
Okay.
But there's no requirement for you to have lived together now for 2 years. So you're still going to have to show pretty strong evidence, no doubt. The guidance isn't quite there yet.
So
But
what would they count as akin to a marriage then?
you would still, in my opinion, you would still need to be living together
Yeah,
because that's what
really.
married couples do. But
But not if they're distance due to the immigration rules.
well, no,
Yeah.
it's not going to apply to people who are abroad and haven't lived together. But those that are already in the UK and are living together, I think that it's a possibility that it'll help people because you don't. Before you had to pass that 2-year threshold. Now you could have just been a few months away, but still not in a position to apply. So I think this is it. It's one good change that's come in.
So someone's asked a question. It's quite a complex question, to be fair. Maybe too complex to discuss in detail on here. He has said, "Can you please discuss the universal credit added in to the 6 months pay slips, please?" I think what he means is if you have you don't you, it says added into the 6 month pay slips. I assume what he means is I think I recognize the number. I assume what it means is that if you can't make the 6 months with your pay slips, say before, is it 11th of April?
Yeah, 11th of April.
Yeah, so if you can't make it before the 11th of April with the 6 months pay slips, but prior to the 6 months, you were on universal credit, can you include universal credit into your income calculations? Now, that is in my opinion, I've never been asked this question before. Generally, my answer would be no, because you're then showing that you're reliant on public funds, which they say that if you're the applicant can't rely on public funds, but it's not the applicant here, I suppose. It's the sponsor who was previously reliant on public funds. There's an argument there. There's an argument there. My first, in my opinion, my first answer would be no, but I can see where it's coming from, and I think it's probably worth an argument. If it gets refused, it's worth an argument. Subject to you still meeting the 29,000.
Subject to that.
But if your income is from more than one source, Jules, quickly,
Yeah.
do you not have to show a year of income?
It depends on what sources you're relying on.
So if you got 2 jobs, do you have to do you have to show just 6 months? Or?
You can still show 6 months
Okay.
if you've been in both jobs for 6 months.
Okay.
But if you've only been in one of the jobs for 2 months and one of the jobs for 6 months, then you need to show the full 12 months. And in that 12 months, you need to have been earning, as the financial requirement is now,
Yeah.
the 18,600 over the whole period of the 12 months, and at least 9,300 in the last 6 months as well. So it's a 2-stage test when you're looking at the 12 years, because you don't meet 6 months in the job. But
I think
it can be quite complicated when you're trying to mix incomes, or you've got more than one job and you've been at the places different times. That's why I think a lot of people sometimes think that we can do this application ourselves and it won't be any problem. But there are mandatory specified documents that the Home Office expect you to put in, depending on what source of income that you're looking at. And if you're mixing it as well, that makes it more complicated, which is where us solicitors do come in. And I think that's where we're able to help. So while it looks easy on the face of it in terms of just, we just need to put these documents in, even if you miss one mandatory document, they can refuse it. And while there is a thing called evidential flexibility, where they should ask you for if there are 1 or 2 things missing, they only have to do that if you've asked them to do that when you submitted the application. They don't have to apply evidential flexibility unless you've asked them to do it. So I think that's where solicitors come in. So if you've got a complicated issue, I would definitely
I think
seek legal
this isn't that
advice.
straightforward. In fact, he's now texted me on my mobile saying that it's only the first month. Regardless of only whether it's 1 month or 2 months, if it's allowed, it's allowed. If it's not allowed, it's not allowed. So you can't just say it's only.
My understanding is that you're not allowed to
use public funds.
public funds when you're trying to meet the financial
Criteria,
requirement,
yeah.
unless you're on one of those benefits which we talked about before, and then you're required to meet adequate maintenance, and that's where you are allowed to include the whole household income. But with regards to the normal financial requirements that you have to meet, it's usually from employment, self-employment, savings, and non-employment kind of income, such as rental income, pensions, things like that, and investments and things that you have. But
I think
not
we may, with the gentleman in question, I think we may need to have a little meeting with him at some point and actually go through his actual slips and go through whatever he's got, and then advise him correctly.
Yeah, because
this, we can only guide here, rather than we can't specifically
without
give
seeing people's
advice. Yeah.
documents,
Yeah.
we can only give general
General,
advice.
yes, general advice. Well, general guidance. I wouldn't say advice. Sorry. So moving on. Shall we discuss the? Well, recently, I've noticed a lot of people from, again, Asia, South Asia, coming over on work visas, on what do they call them now?
Okay.
Work permits, and
Skilled workers.
skilled workers. That's it. The skilled work permits. For various areas of work, but majority that I've bumped into or I've come across have been in the care industry. So they've been coming over, them and their families, etc., etc. Whether there's a genuine job here or not, that's a different matter. That's I say different matter, but a different concern, I would say, because there's a lot that you hear that they get here and actually the job is non-existent, and therefore they're left with, okay, what do I do now? Now,
And thousands of pounds in debt.
and £1,000 in debt, yes, because I've heard stories of people selling land, or parents selling their land to fund their child coming over here, thinking, okay, I've got rid of this land, but my son, my daughter is going to go over there and make a future for themselves over there, and okay, eventually may send something back, and so our old age pension is going to come from that child, but it's not always the case.
No.
Now, that's not always the case because of such things where the job may not be there, and then what do? Are they working illegally? What avenue of income? Where do they get this income from? Do they remain here? Do they return back? Do they have enough money to return? Right? And if they return, what they're going to do over there with a father or a family that's in debt? So they don't want to return because of that reason as well. I need to make money to send it back somehow. So a lot of concerning scenarios. And to add to it, the government have now changed the rules there as well, as far as carers, visas are concerned. What's the change that came into effect yesterday?
They're not allowed to bring dependents anymore because there's been such an abuse of the system
Okay.
that they've made those changes that you're not allowed to bring in dependents. I think I read today that out of 100,000 carers that have come in, 120,000 dependents have come in as well.
Oh, really?
Yes. And I think they're in investigations.
Oh, that's, I suppose, children as well.
Children as well. But it's a case of, I think, there are investigations being done as to whether it's all genuine dependents and things. Because even within our caseloads, there are a number of people who've come in having been promised the earth, come, like you said, come here. There's no job there. They're actually having to pay the person who's brought them over money for their monthly wage as well, and they don't know what to do. So they're being left in a very bad position. And I think there was an expose in one of the newspapers as well, where somebody was offering visa for £9,000, but there wouldn't be a job at the end of
9,000 is
it.
quite cheap
That's cheap.
because I've come across people who have said, "Oh, we paid 20,000, £20,000."
20, 30,000.
Right.
There's been various amounts. And then when they arrive here, there's no job for them. But as you said, how do they go back? Because they're in a lot of debt out there. If not to their parents, they borrowed the money to be able to come over. I think the clue, number one clue is, if you're being asked to pay more than £5,000, I think, for something like this, then there is something extremely wrong, and there's going to
Pardon
be
me.
that it's not so genuine. Okay, so I think that's the first clue with regards to these things. But if you're in that position, you do need to be careful because, like I said, I've got a number of clients who have been picked up and have faced charges and are in prison as well
Oh,
because
wow.
they've come on documents that aren't genuine. So when using agents and things, it's not a case of once you've got on that plane and arrived here because you've got through immigration that one time that nothing's going to happen. So I think people need to be careful about what methods they're using to come over, because the government are onto it. And even if they haven't come to you straight away, some people get picked up decades later. So it's not a case of that you won't get caught if things aren't genuine. So be careful would be the word I would say. Make sure you're coming through the genuine routes. And there are many jobs that are available through the genuine routes, through the sponsorship system. But again, another change that's coming in for them is that from the 4th of April, the minimum salary requirement is going up to 38,700
For
for skilled workers.
from 4th of April. Wow.
So anybody that wants to put an application in before the 4th of April, if they're on a much lower wage, they need to do so quickly. I know at the moment so many sponsor license applications are going in, the COS applications are going in, so that the actual visa
So-
applications can go in.
What type of companies can apply for sponsor license?
Most companies
Oh,
can
really?
put an application in if you require somebody in a skilled position, okay, and you're able to show that you've advertised here and you've not been able to recruit for that position, and you genuinely need to have advertised because you'll need to show that you've gone through an interview process, why you've rejected people if you have, and why this person who's from abroad or who's here with a different type of visa is the correct person for that position, then you could get them a position using your sponsor license. But initially you need to get a sponsor license, because without a sponsor license you're not in a position to employ migrant workers. And to beat the 38,700, I think you are going to be pushing it at this point. We're already on the 12th of March.
Yeah, of course.
So
How long does it take to get a sponsor license through generally?
if you're able to do the fast track, and it's difficult to get a fast track position, it's 2 weeks, 10 working days
Okay.
that they can give you a decision within. Otherwise, it can take 8 to 12 weeks.
Okay.
With the priority fast track positions, you literally have to at 9 o'clock be ready to press the button, and it's like a lottery. If you're one of the lucky ones and you get it, you get it. Otherwise, try again the next day. Only 30 positions become available for a number of routes every morning at 9 o'clock on the dot.
Wow. Wow. Yeah, and I've had many inquiries, butchers, garages,
I think
shops.
the main issue is that it's a skilled position, and that you're able to show that you've not been able to recruit for this position. So it's a genuine
I suppose
position.
a butcher would be skilled because not everyone can pick up a knife and cut a leg off a lamb or what have you.
They can try, but I'm sure it wouldn't be quite right. So
Well,
yes, it would
yeah.
be deemed a skilled position, I
Yeah.
think. So, but you also have to show that it's a genuine position that's available. So it can't just be a case if you want to bring your family members over, so let's look at the best option like that. You're going to have to show that that person is the most qualified for you, and you haven't been able to.
Well, yeah, the
recruit from
person over
UK.
there has to show that they've got that skill and experience. Do they assess level of experience? I wonder.
It's one of the things they can look at, because What we try and do when we put an application in for a sponsor license right from the beginning, if somebody's found somebody, is put in as much information as we can with regards to how they've gone about the recruitment process, how their HR systems are in place, how they follow things like having the pension system in place, all of those things, which aren't mandatory documents to put in. However, it can avoid a visit before they actually issue the license. Like just recently, we've had 2 licenses within the last few weeks issued without a visit because quite a substantial amount of documents were submitted
provided, yeah.
to show that it's a genuine business that knows how to run its HR policies. I think that's what the Home Office is most interested in,
True.
that you're going to follow the correct procedures where it's concerned. So if you can show that you are a good business with the right procedures in place.
And I
then you'll
believe
be okay.
one of those businesses is fairly new business as well. So even with a
Yes.
fairly new business, you've managed to, get it through without any inspection,
Yes.
without any
They'd only been
hassle.
trading for 2-3 weeks.
Yeah, that's fantastic. That's fantastic. Clearly, you know what you're doing.
I should hope so. Been doing this for a very long time now.
Is it
18 years?
18 years? Wow.
So,
Wow, 18 years ago, I didn't have any grey hair.
you still hide it.
Yeah, quite well. Right, so we're now near the end of the show. I think we might get you back in on another show. To be fair, because there's a lot for us to cover, which you haven't managed to do so today. But thank you for coming in. Thank you for the guidance and that you have provided to our listeners and viewers. And we'll speak to you soon. And as for you guys, thank you for listening in. And I'll be back with you next week with a new topic. We will come back to immigration as well at some point. I'm not sure whether it'll be next week or one of the following weeks. But there's various topics that I wish to cover, including trusts and wills. I've covered wills before, but not trusts. I should have a new guest in as well for the trusts. But yeah, inshallah, speak to you soon. Allah Hafiz.